Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be right now. I'm Tony Hammack here in my home studio with Lonnie the Big Man Biggers. We are hanging out here, putting together a radio program for KBAP 88.1 FM, which is also going to go out on YouTube. If you're listening to this on YouTube, thanks a lot for joining us. Also, like, share, subscribe. That helps, the algorithm. You guys know the drill on that. But it's good to be with you, and we've been talking off the air for quite a while, probably about an hour, just trying to kind of get dialed in on what we want to talk about. And I think what we're going to talk about to start off are the differences in culture around the world. If a person sits in a position of as an observer, and they look at different countries or different cities or different regions of the earth, I believe they're going to see different things based on where they look. And I would say a lot of those different things that we're going to see around the world are going to be driven by culture. And there may be other forces, other factors at work. And I want to start off with this basic premise that I don't think all cultures around the world are equally good. Like I can't rank them. I can't tell you which ones are the best, which ones are the worst. But I will tell you, I don't believe all cultures are equally good. I believe there are some cultures where there's abuse of children. I don't like that. I don't think that's good. I think there are cultures where women are abused. Yeah. I don't like that either. I think that's bad. So just with these broad brush, starting off here with some broad brush terms, I think most of our viewers, most of our listeners, unless they're really, charged up ideologically about equity or something, would agree with me. That, I think he's right about that. You go to such and such a country and there's an active slave trade right now in the world. I mean, in 2025. Is that good? No, it's not good. That's not good. That's not as good as a country where there is no active slave trade. Yeah. Now, we all understand there's crime. The human heart, I think it was Jeremiah the prophet around chapter 17 said that the human heart is desperately wicked, beyond cure. Who can know it? So the unregenerated person anywhere on earth has potential for horrible evil. So anyway, that's where I want to start with this conversation. I think it's up for judgment. Our listeners and viewers can judge this for themselves, how they feel about cultures. But I think it's almost universally understood that not every culture is as good as every other culture. And here's one way you can test it is there any immigration? Yeah. Are people leaving countries to go to other countries anywhere in the world? Because if all of our countries and all of our cultures were equally good, why in the world would anyone leave their country or their culture to go to another country or another culture? So like the immigration rates, I know even inside the United States, there's a website. I don't know if it's still up, but it's called Money Walks. And it was based on the tax rate of states inside the United States. Okay. And it would correlate, populations would shift and move pretty nicely with tax rates. So a state that has high taxes, people would leave that state. Going to a state with a more favorable tax structure. Because, who thinks the government can spend their money better than they can? I'd like to meet that guy. Yeah, me too. Golly, that is insanity about it. Yeah, that's insanity, dude. Yeah. So it seems like the majority of people want to keep their own hard-earned money. And anyway, so immigration tells a tale. You can say, oh, this country's really bad. This country's horrible. Okay, well, what are the immigration rates? Yeah, people are leaving here by the droves. Okay, the free market is agreeing with you. Yeah. The free market of people, they are in agreement with you. This country is trash. This country is in trouble. This country is garbage. And people are leaving the country as a result. So if you live in a country where people are fighting to get into your country, you can have a certain amount of assurance that maybe our country's not so bad. Maybe our country's all right. Because they've walked 1,000 miles to get to our country. What's the draw if it's so bad? Yeah. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts, Lonnie. I want to hear your thoughts, though.
Well, I'm in agreement with what you're saying. And one of the things that I know you're talking about the taxes and all of that.
Yeah, that's just one thing.
And you can look at California, and they're losing 100,000 to 200,000 people a year. So, and you can look at New York, and they're losing people there, and most of those places are going to Florida and Texas. And what is the draw? Yeah. Well, you were talking about the taxes. Okay, we're discussing that. So Florida has no income tax
on the state.
On state level, yes. And Texas is the same way. Right. Tennessee is the same way. Mm-hmm. And I think Oklahoma may be the same way. There's some state all around. As a matter of fact, all around right here where we live, we still have a income tax here in Arkansas. So
a state tax, right?
Yeah, a state tax. Yeah, I want to be. Yeah, that's good that you're letting.
There's a federal tax.
Yeah, there is a federal tax. We're not free of that. Yeah, and you're not going to get away from that because it's federal.
Yeah, when I'm down at the Capitol and I'm looking at how nicely manicured the lawn is in Little Rock and those marble steps, I think I had a little something to do with that.
Yeah, you did it too.
Probably a little something.
Yeah. So anyway, to get back to where we were, there's in these different cultures that come in. What I've found is really troubling to me is people who have come into this country. They let's look at some of the things that happened, especially in 2020. And even today, it's still happening. And you have a riot. You have people who are, quote unquote, peacefully protesting.
Yeah, mostly peaceful protest.
So anyway, so that's the way some people see it, as a peaceful protest. Yet they're burning cars in the street, and they're trashing buildings, and they're ripping off the stores that are there. And then you see that a lot of these people are they're running around. I saw this one particular one I'm going to mention here. He's running around on a motorcycle with his country's flag. Yeah. That he's just holding it. Well, wait a minute. If you want to,
protesting being deported.
Protesting being deported. Country. Yeah, exactly. But so here he is, though. Why is he not assimilating into this country? Why are we having the problems now in Minnesota that we've had? There's at least $1 billion of federal money, taxpayers' money, has disappeared. It's gone to Somalia. A bunch of Somalians, and it's been a constant feed of this money in, and then they are sending that money back to Somalia, which is, I forgot the name of the group down there who's running that country. It's Sabash or something like that. I just don't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're taking the freebies. It's handouts now. Mm-hmm. It's what it's gotten to be. So look, if you're coming to this country to work, to do good, to help benefit this country, then okay, maybe you'll be allowed to stay. But if you come to this country just to suck on the teat of government, then no, I'm so.
You're against it.
I'm totally against it. I'm abhorred. Yeah, you know that word. Yeah. To this whole idea. So, if you want to come to this country, the first thing you need to do is come legally. You need to get in. There's places in all of these countries that you can go to, are the biggest part of them, and you can apply for a visa or whatever it is that you need to get into this country. And you can apply for that at the American Embassy, or I believe it is the American Embassy, which is in most countries. And then you can apply, and then you can stand in line and wait, just like many millions of people have already that come to this country. They are legal, and they've gone through the process. So we have a system now where that we have been, for the last 4 years, we've been overrun with so many people that they can't possibly be vetted. We can't possibly know their intentions when they come here, and we're finding out now that a lot of the intentions were pretty bad.
Well, don't you think, I don't think it's any secret that the political left in America wants or believes that people from outside of the country are more interested in their political values than the people on the political right. So like if let's say you're a Democrat in Washington, D.C., and you can flood Texas with a bunch of Hispanic voters, and then
change the color.
You can change Texas from red to purple to blue.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a long, if Texas goes to the Democrats, I can't tell you the next time a Republican's going to win an election at the federal level, president of the United States.
If all things staying equal, other than that, there won't be.
Yeah. And so I think that's the secret behind what happened with the border. It was no secret. I think the people on the political left love the idea of never losing another election.
Yeah, it's all about power, right?
Yeah, and so the country be darned, basically. Who cares about the country? We want to be in power. So it's a means to an end. Then the other way to look at the open border, you've got globalist ideologues who want nation states dissolved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can't usher in a global government if people are proud of their country. If I don't know, Brazilians are proud of Brazil, you can't convince them to lay down their Brazilian flag and take on the flag of South America. We're going to have a South American country. Also, we're all going to join together, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it serves a dual purpose for the globalists and the left wing ideologues, because you open the border, you can flood Texas with people from other countries, and they might not come here on foot wealthy. They might not come here financially empowered. People that have a job and people that have some assets are the ones paying the taxes.
Yes.
We have a graduated income tax system in America, which is, in my opinion, socialism. So if you don't make enough money in America, you don't pay in any income tax.
Yeah.
Now, you'll pay in on your paycheck, but then you'll get a refund. They'll give you your money back while they invest it, during the year while you're paying it in. They're making money on your money that you're having to pay in. And then at the end of the year, they give you your money back without any of the interest they made on your money that they probably invested during the year. So, I mean, which could be semi-problematic. I personally would like to see a graduated income tax removed from America.
Just a flat rate, then.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Every citizen pays the same percentage.
Okay.
That way, I feel pain come tax season.
I'll bet you do too.
I feel some financial pain, and so I realize that I'm not in the highest tax bracket that there is, but I do pay in.
Yeah.
I haven't always paid in. I used to be so poor when I would make money as a youth pastor, I would get it all back. You know what I mean? I didn't make enough to pay in. I was getting earned income credit, EIC money from the federal government because I was making so little.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like to make very little, and I know what it's like to get out of that hole, that hand-to-mouth middle.
Kind of like Paul. You knew.
Yeah. I've had plenty. I've had lack.
Yeah.
But the secret is contentment in all circumstances.
Yeah.
But to me, I would rather see. Here's what happens if you make "quote unquote" poor people pay taxes. They just might start paying attention to government. If you don't pay,
that's a wise statement right there.
If you don't pay anything,
you
what
got
do
no
you
skin
care?
in the game.
Yeah,
and no dog in the hunt.
Yeah. So if the local, guy down here that's making $12 an hour, working his tail off, supporting his family, he's got so many, what do you call them, dependents.
Yeah.
And he's struggling to get by, and he's not paying in any taxes, and oh man, we feel sorry for him. He's working so hard, No, make that guy pay some tax. Make him pay taxes on that. Because if he doesn't pay in any tax, I mean, and you appear in politics and say, I'm going to give you more free stuff.
Yeah.
Who's he going to vote for?
He's going to vote for me.
He's going to vote for the guy that's going to give him more free stuff.
That's right.
And we all know historically that is a disaster.
It has been here.
It has been everywhere in the world. You cannot rely on the government to give you free stuff, because the government is not the government. The government is the wealthier citizens in the society who are paying the taxes. It's wealth redistribution, and it never works. It always ends in massive problems. It's horrible.
So we're on a downhill slope then.
Well, we have socialism in America.
We do. That's true.
We have some socialism in America.
Yeah. So we have Social Security.
Yeah. I mean, they put it right out there in the front of the name.
Yeah,
Social Security.
That's right.
They're not even trying to hide what it is. But to me, I think everybody should pay a flat tax. And there should be no one that's exempt from paying taxes. Everybody should pay something. That way, you feel like, hey, I've contributed to this country, and I care about what happens in this country now. This is my country.
So let me ask a question. So why do you think we have this graduated tax?
It's simple.
Okay, well, give me a simple answer.
It's manipulation. I mean, you can manipulate the citizenry. If only a few people, I mean, you don't win elections. You sort of win elections based on money because there's money that goes into fund campaigns. But you win elections because of votes. I think it was Jim Carville, who's the Skeletor.
Is
that his name?
Is it Jim or George?
I forgot his first name.
It could. I do too.
But he turned. He talked about Trump winning this last election. He says it turns out the way you win elections isn't with money; it's with votes.
He's a great strategist.
Well, the guy
he's really foul-mouthed as he can be, but he is a great strategist.
But the guy, we'll give him props for what he's good at.
Yeah.
But anyhow, my point is, if there's a graduated income tax, there's only some people that are paying the bills.
Yeah.
And everybody else gets to live here, quote unquote, for free. Now, those same people will pay sales tax, and they'll pay. If they own property, they'll pay real estate tax.
Well, see, here's one of the things that is I think is Trump is doing. Trump is charging the guy who works for $12 an hour. He's paying taxes. It's on tariffs. I mean, he's paying every time he buys a product that's had a tariff on it. He's paying. So you see, he has done what I guess few people ever even think about doing, which it used to do this tariff. So in a way, the little guy down here with $12 an hour, he is paying in under this system now with the tariffs.
But he doesn't know he's paying.
No, he doesn't know he's paying, and therefore he's not aware of.
It's the same way with
following he's not following the political system like you mentioned earlier that he should be involved.
Yeah, when you write that check in April 15th, and you write a check for $200 or $1,000 or $28,000 or whatever you're paying in taxes, you go,
yeah.
Man, how proud am I to be an American?
Yeah, maybe I want to change cultures.
Well, I don't. But
okay, I want to give you a spill on it. I want to give you my opinion about this graduated income. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping me out.
Sorry.
You always do that, and I appreciate that so much.
I'm a little younger.
No, yeah, you are. So here. Now, what's going to happen is this: you're going to have a lot of unemployed people if you don't have the graduated income tax. There's all these tax lawyers that have studied for years to become tax lawyers, and what are they going to do? I mean, you don't have any deductions now, and let's get rid of those. That's where I think this simple 10%, 5%,
but see that
2%, whatever it is. And here's another thing: why on Social Security taxes? Why do you just tax on Social Security up to a certain number, and then all the people who are really making the big bucks? As we used to say, they're not paying any Social Security except right up to that limit, and then that's all they're paying. Mm. So if we're going to be equal in this, or if we're going to do something that's the same for everybody across the board, no matter their income here. So let's make them pay their fair share, as they say.
Yeah, and that's right. That's what they always say.
That's right.
They're already paying more than their fair share.
They're already paying a lot more. Yeah, they're paying 15, 20, 25%, where the guy down here is at $10,000, $20,000. He's not paying anything.
I wonder what Bernie Sanders' net worth is. I bet you it's
he's worth over $2 million. I know that. Yeah. He's got 2 or 3 homes now, I understand.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk about taxing millionaires and billionaires. He just talks about taxing billionaires now, because he's graduated to the top of the line, or up there a little high.
Yeah, so he had to change his rhetoric.
So you change all of these, and this is the same way I feel about the criminal justice system. Why? Let me tell you something. Most prisoners who are on the death row, they die of natural causes before they're executed. Yeah. In other words, they never get executed. They just die of natural causes in prison, because we have a system that is, we have, what do you call them when you, whenever you're go back in court, what is it?
Appeals process.
Thank you. See, I needed help on that one too.
If you ask for help, sometimes I get it.
I'm glad you helped me. So we go through this appeals process, and then we just continue on and continue on and continue on for years and years. Well, here's all of your criminal justice lawyers are gonna, if we just go take them out here and 2 years, you're done. That's it, bud. You're either gonna get your attorney to find you innocent, or to get you back in court for some good reason, so that there is some doubt as to whether you are guilty or not. So then we're going to have a whole lot of problems if we change the system. But in my mind, those are the kind of problems that we need to have, because it's costing the taxpayers money every time these attorneys appeal this. They're getting paid. They're getting paid every time. Somebody's paying them, and most of the time it's the taxpayers that are paying them. You get a lawyer for free if you can't afford it. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is what changing, but I like change. I like to see.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting, and I know a lot of our listeners are believers. They're Christian people. Some aren't, but some of them are. You look into the Old Testament.
Yeah.
You don't see prisons.
No, you don't. No.
You see restitution.
That's right.
And the death penalty.
That's right.
There's no doing time behind bars.
Yeah. You got to pay it all back plus.
Now, in Egypt, Joseph goes into prison, but not in Israel.
Yeah, not under, Egypt was not under the
covenants of God.
Yeah,
they weren't under God's system. Right. They were under the, pagan gods in Egypt. And so, too, I think if you look at the prisoners per capita, the number one country in the world for most prisoners per capita is the United States of America.
Yeah. Sadly, that's true.
Which is strange. I mean, it's like, why? What's the deal? Are our laws so strict, or is our culture decaying? Where mommies and daddies can't train their kids to act right, and they grow up to become criminals. Do we have a higher level of psychopathy in America than other countries, or is it that we have a corporate prison system that profits from prisoners? And there's incentives to put people in prison, financial incentives. I don't know. I don't know the answer to any of those questions.
Well, I think that is a good possibility, that it is profitable, especially now that a lot of states have gone to private prisons. The state doesn't run it anymore. They just give it's like the Medicare Advantage. I don't get money straight from, or what do I say here? The doctors and people who are taking care of you, if you're sick and ill, they don't get the money directly from the government. They get it from now an insurance company. An insurance company is being paid by the federal government, so they cover you. This is the Medicare Advantage system that a lot of people, some people are not in Medicare Advantage. I am, because it's advantageous to me to have that, Yeah. It's better for me. But at any rate, so everywhere you look, it's like the taxpayers are funding this. It's just like a big game here that they're playing. And we're all, as taxpayers, we're funding that. We're paying for that. And that's our culture. We haven't learned yet what the government is doing to us, not for us. They say, I've heard this statement, if the government is big enough to take care of you or give you everything, they're big enough to take everything away from you. Words to that effect. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it was Benjamin Franklin.
Was it him?
It may have been, yeah.
Yeah, well, he was a wise old guy, too.
Some of our listeners can check that out in the comments.
There you
make
go.
A comment.
And I hope they do, because I like to be corrected.
Oh, do you? You ought to read the comments section on YouTube. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, it's just one of those things where, sometimes it's useful to be corrected.
Oh, yeah, if you're wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you got to put on your big boy pants and get corrected.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you find out that, oh, geez, I was wrong about that. So... But anyway, we were in discussing all of this. Now we have an influx of so many people that have come in here that we know absolutely nothing about.
I think I'm for immigration reform, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about the actual immigration process.
Well, they call it. They want comprehensive immigration reform, called comprehensive. Now, what does that word comprehensive mean?
It's pretty vague, yeah.
Yeah, it's very vague, but
all-encompassing, right?
Well, yeah, but I understand comprehensive, the word, as it means, do you comprehend that? Can you comprehend that? Comprehensive. Well, we have laws on this. All you have to do is just enforce the laws. You won't have an immigration problem if you enforce the laws that are on the books now. They want comprehensive immigration reform, so they can change it to their likings. In other words, to what they want it to be now. They want to do away really with the laws that we have on the books, and for all practical purposes, they have done just that. When you just open up the borders and allow anyone and everyone in, then you're not obeying the law. Joe Biden did not obey the law. He's a lawbreaker, and a lawbreaker should be punished for his lawbreaking. But he's not.
Did he pardon himself?
Then, well, he could have maybe done that. I don't think so. But here's the other side of that coin. He's being punished right now. He is dying of cancer.
I didn't.
So God is taking care of that problem. We don't have to spend any money. He doesn't have to spend any money defending himself. We don't have to spend any money prosecuting himself. But there is a higher power that is going to deal with all of this in one fashion or another. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm in agreement with you that God's given him cancer.
Well, I'm not saying that he gave it to him. I'm saying he could just allow it to happen. He doesn't have to give you something. The devil will do his dirty work for him.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think there should be a process, and there should be certain benchmarks a person has to hit to get into the country.
I do too.
And you have to be able to do certain things, and you have to, like, maybe a psychological profile, maybe a academic test of some kind.
You have to speak English.
Well, maybe I don't know. We talked a little bit off the air about the strengths in certain cultures. The globalists always say diversity is our strength. That's their slogan in the UK. They're trying to get everybody to drink the globalist Kool-Aid, and they're mad about Brexit, so they're slamming them with immigrants from all over the Middle East and Africa and different places in the world. I'm not necessarily a diversity is our strength guy, but I do think there may be redeemable qualities from certain cultures that we could assimilate into American culture that would be good. I'm not able to name them off the top of my head right now, but I think to take an assessment of the entire world and say there is nothing in the entire world outside of the United States that's worth bringing in here. Not a single solitary thing. Forget it. We're closing the border. We're the best. Everybody else stinks. We're way smarter. We're way better. We have way better ideas. We don't need anything from anybody else out there. Shut the border down. That's it. We're done with all immigration. I don't know if we could do that. I don't know if we should do that. But I think if we could, say, foster foreign investments maybe that are not trying to manipulate our culture into something else, or foster, academicians or high-level people that want to come to our country and want to enjoy the culture that has been established by our forefathers here in America.
You want people that are going to benefit America.
I do.
I do too. See, that is the situation. But what we're getting is not that, obviously.
Now maybe we are.
Now
maybe we are, but under the Biden administration, it wasn't. It was just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And, I think it was just political. And it may be as much political maneuvering now, too. If let's say we're having a battle and we're in politics and you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican and you stab me and I start bleeding, I got to stop the bleeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I might stab you back, so get you to bleed a little bit,
Yeah.
So that could be simply what's happening at the border. But at the same time, ideologically, I am in agreement more with the idea of a stricter immigration policy. I have some dear friends who have some children that they wanted to stay with my wife and I, that they could take a vacation, and they kind of were like, they tell the kids where their aunt and uncle, and so that kind of pulls on your heartstrings a little bit. And so anyway, we're watching their kids for them for a couple of weeks while they're on vacation, and they were open border kids. Their parents were open border people, and so they were in my car. We were going to church together, and they were. I think it came up something about the border, and I'm not an open border guy. I'm not a member of the Open Border Society or whatever. So we were talking, and I asked these kids, I said, hey, do you guys ever lock the door at your house at home? Yeah. What for? What do you do that for? Well, we don't want people just coming in.
Yeah.
I was like, well.
Yeah, you trapped them.
Well, it's a simple question.
Yeah, it is a simple question.
If you're an open border guy, you ought to be an open border guy.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what about your car? You ever your parents lock the door on their car when they go to the grocery store? Yeah. Oh, yeah. What do they do that for? Well, they don't want anybody just getting in their car. I was like, well, that's why I think we should have a closed border. And they were like, oh, I see where you're going with that. Yeah. And so I have a home and I have a locked door, and someone can knock on the door and I can look out the window and decide, do I want this person to come in? Yeah. And today it was you, Lonnie. So I said, yeah, I want Lonnie to come in.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so you just came on in my house and we're having a nice conversation. Everything's fine. I think it should be a similar process for our border. Who's knocking on the door? Who wants to come in? Well, I'm coming in here to rape and kill people. Well, you're not welcome.
Maybe you should stay outside.
What's your criminal history? Well, yeah, I was in prison in Venezuela. Yeah, I've got MS-13 tattoos all over my body. Yeah, I'm coming in here. Just try to stop me. Well, okay, you're not coming in. I don't want you coming in here. Or whatever criteria. Yeah. And to me, some of these things are fairly reasonable. I don't think it's possible to look into a person's eyes and read their soul and know who they are, what kind of person they are. But I think there are some objective criteria we could use, like criminal background checks of some kind. Maybe I don't know.
Well, some countries don't even have those available. They won't have any of those stats that we would need to vet a person with.
I wonder too about like psychological tests. If you could administer some kind of psychological test that would indicate this person is a sociopath.
Yeah,
this person's a psychopath. This person is. They don't have any problem with killing people.
We could have put a sign up at the border saying "No psychopaths welcome."
Yeah, that'll work.
Oh yeah,
that's like no guns allowed.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly right.
That works too.
That is exactly right.
That doesn't work. Only works for the honest people. The honest psychopath would walk here from Venezuela and get there to the sign and be like, "Oh man, I got to go home." Turn around and just walk home.
Oh man, look at that. And they even put it up in my language, so I couldn't be fooled.
Yeah.
The thing about it is I believe that these countries, most of these countries that have flooded us with their people, I believe they opened up their prisons and just allowed those guys.
That's what I hear people say that. I think
know. How do we know that some of these people that we're picking up now to deport from this country, we already know they've got a record in certain wherever they came from.
Yeah.
So we can find out about them, and many of them have been guilty of murder. They've been guilty of rape, and they've been guilty of child molestation, and all of the other crimes that are.
We could, one piece of immigration reform, and this may already be on the books, but if you are a immigrant and you don't have U.S. citizenship yet, or maybe you're in the process of trying to become a U.S. citizen and you commit a crime, like say a felony or maybe even a misdemeanor, you're immediately deported.
Yeah, well, I think that should be. If
you're found guilty, let's say shoplifting, or you're found guilty of some crime.
Well, you don't want them. Why would I want even a shoplifter? How about jaywalking? Now that's a criminal.
Yeah, you're gonna let all the jaywalkers.
We're gonna get them out of here for all day.
Oh, he's a jaywalker.
We don't want somebody interfering with the flow of traffic in our country.
Yeah, I don't know all that, but I do believe that not every culture is the same, and I'm going to share just kind of an eyewitness testimony thing that I saw. I went. And I've mentioned this before to some of my friends, but I spent 9 days in Lagos, Nigeria in 2001. The terrorist attacks on America were September 11th, 2001. And I got on a transatlantic flight from Chicago to Paris to Lagos, Nigeria, flew into Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, and then flew south, almost due south. I think it was in the same time zone as Paris, to Lagos, Nigeria. And I spent 9 days there. And while I was walking around this church, which was, as far as the church goes, it was amazing. There were a lot of cultural things in Lagos, Nigeria that were very different than America. At least from my perspective, there was some public nudity that you would see in Lagos that you wouldn't see in Batesville, Arkansas. There was just some other things culturally. There was like a culture of witches and warlocks. There was a small percentage of the population that were still practicing witchcraft and in tribal religions. That was a little strange. That was a little different. But what really stuck out to me was the facial branding or facial tattoos. It wasn't really ink. It was more like scarring, facial scarring that I noticed on some people in Lagos, Nigeria when I was there. And, when you... There's, culture shock. You see things and you think, well, I've never seen that before. And so I just noticed it. And I'd come up at Southeast Missouri State University. I was a football player, and I was around a lot of our African-American student athletes were members of black fraternities, the Alphas, the Kappas, the Omega Psi Phi. They were members. And it was very normal for these guys in these fraternities to be branded on their arms.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, very common. So if you were a member of the Q Dogs and Omega,
this was like leaving a scar.
Oh yeah, branding? Yeah. It was like a legit, like a brand, like an animal.
Okay.
So like if I had a buddy named Farron Haley, he was a wide receiver. He had 3 on top of each other. 1, 2, 3 omegas. The Greek letter omega, which is an upside down U.
Yeah.
And he had 3 of those branded on his arm. And so when I got to Lagos, Nigeria, and I saw this facial scarring on these Nigerians, that kind of reminded me of the fraternities at Southeast Missouri State University. And that, the Alpha Phi Alpha, those guys, they'd have an A. They'd have the Greek letter A tattooed, not tattooed, but branded on their arms. So I saw this facial scarring, and I thought, oh, okay, that's something. That maybe, I don't know. It just didn't really trigger at first as like something I needed to think about. But then after a while, I kind of made friends with some of the workers in the church there. And so I started talking to them, and I was like, hey, what's the deal with this? Why does this guy have 3 brands across his forehead, 1 across his right cheek and 2 across his left cheek? It's obviously a pattern. It's not like, oh, he fell down, I mean, and it wasn't every single Nigerian person, but it was maybe 1 in 20, maybe 1 in 15 people had that facial scarring. And the worker just responded very nonchalantly to me and quickly answered me and said, well, the parents, when they're born, the parents will brand their faces like that or scratch their faces, causing that facial scarring. So when they get sold into the slave markets, they can identify them as adults and say, you are my son.
Oh, wow.
You are my daughter. I put those marks on you when you were born so I could find you later, because I knew there was a good chance you'd be stolen from me and put into slavery.
My goodness.
So that was in the year 2001 on Earth, the planet we all live on.
Yeah.
In a country that is, as far as I could tell, 100% African.
Yeah.
When I was in Lagos, people, well, how many white people are there? I was like, 0. I didn't see a single white person, I mean, I'm sure there are some white people in Lagos, Nigeria, but there were some other interesting things culturally about Lagos, and I forgot the population of Lagos, but it is the most populated city on the continent of Africa. So there is no city on the continent with more people in it than Lagos. And one thing that I thought was also interesting about Lagos was there were no traffic signals. So there were ways to merge into traffic, and there were lots of mopeds with another weird thing about Lagos on the mopeds, which there was a lot of rebar welded in front of the tires on the mopeds because of accidents. They're trying to protect the tires and wheels from getting damaged. And then 2, the horn was like the main form of communication on the road. So if you were a moped and your horn went beep, beep, you got no respect. So a lot of the moped owners would upgrade their horns to car horns. They'd put car horns on their mopeds. So, I better get out of the way. There's a car coming. And it's just the guy on his moped, with his wife and his kids all packed on there. But it was nothing to see 4 people on a moped, a man driving with a wife with a kid in between, a kid on the mama's back, But anyway, culturally, we started this program off talking about culture. And I think culturally, there are things around the world that I would say are worse than they are in the United States of America. And I'm going to say any country, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, but any country that has a legal slave trade, I'm not interested in living there.
Yeah, nor I. No.
I mean, I think, was it William Wilberforce? He was the guy in England that was big in ending the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. I get it. Historically, in America, we've had slavery.
Yeah.
And some people, we talked a little bit off the air about the sex slavery and all that could be happening under the radar of right under people's noses here now. And it's all these people are being trafficked. And I'm saying, hey, if they're being trafficked and that's a crime, let's get those people. Let's catch them.
Yeah.
And let's prosecute them to the full extent of the law. Let's get that off our streets. I'm not in favor of that one bit. But it's illegal. If it's happening, and if it's happening on the scale that people say it's happening, it's illegal. It should be stopped. There should be prosecuting attorneys and police officers and judges our system should be activated. And hey, let's bust them. Let's put them in jail. Let's try them. Let's charge them, and let's deal with it.
One of the interesting things that I find a lot of looking on Facebook, I got I see over a period of a week dozens and dozens of young girls, especially, and young boys that are missing. So where are those kids? Are they just wandering around? Did they just leave home because mom and daddy were mean to them?
Yeah,
I mean, so see that feeds into my mind the possibility that, well, maybe they are being sex trafficked. Maybe they are part of that group of people who, are involved in it. Maybe they've gotten picked up, and that's what they're going to be doing now until we find them. So, most of them are not. I'm pretty sure of that because many of them do get found. Many of them get found.
I don't know. We can speculate all day on what percentage of missing children are sex trafficked and what percentage of them are, just, fell down in a ditch somewhere and they haven't found them yet, or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But I know this. I'm 1,000,000% against it. Any kind of that kind of business is awful. Yeah. And it needs to be stopped. And good men, just like you and me and others, I've got some friends in law enforcement that I would say are good men. I've got some really good friends that are retired law enforcement. And these guys are high-level good men who are not afraid of conflict, who will just run into a gunfight. I know a guy locally that he was in a gunfight and he said, I still have dreams about it, man. I still have PTSD from it. I
bet they do.
For what? For, $35,000 a year, to put your life on the line. Those are good men. Not every guy. Not every police officer is a good guy. But to me, for the most part, I have a lot of confidence in our law enforcement. Maybe I'm a fool, but I do.
I think you're on target. I do. The number of bad cops compared to good cops, I'm sure, is a very low number.
I'd like to think that.
Yeah, and they make the good ones look bad because they're bad. And anytime you have that, a lot of people want to tag, and that's what happens. That's what's been happening now in America. Cops are bad. That's why defund the cops and all of this other stuff. Yeah. That's rubbish. Not all of them are bad. Matter of fact, if I'm out here and I'm in trouble, I'm in big trouble, and I think I need to call a cop, I'm going to call a cop. Why? Because I think they're going to come and help me. I think they're good guys. I don't think they're going to come and say, well, what did you do to provoke this? Or, I think they're coming to help me. Yeah. So that's the way I feel about
I'll tell you an interesting story about our local law enforcement. My wife and I, we bought a porch swing from Tractor Supply. It was on double 50% off. So it was like 50% off and nobody would buy it. So, all right, 50% off again. So we got it for, I forgot what we paid, $70 for it or something, $80. Anyway,
it's nice. It's a nice swing.
Yeah, it's a nice little porch swing. We're getting old, so we got to sit out on the swing and just swing. Oh, yeah,
I feel sorry for you.
Watch traffic go by. Yeah. So we're sitting out there one night. We were watching Melbourne on Andrew's phone, and
playing game?
It was some ball game, I forgot what it was. It may have been a football game, and we were watching the Bearcats, and, I'm looking at this phone, and when you look up at night off a phone, you can't see a thing,
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I hear the crunch, I hear this noise, and I hear somebody go, help me, and I look at Andrew, I'm like, are you hearing this? And it was like someone got hit by a car out in front of our house. So she was like, yeah, I heard it, go help them. And so I didn't have any shoes on, so I know enough to know sometimes there's broken glass and everything. So I got to put some shoes on. I'm not walking out on the highway at night. It's pitch black out. So I used to do triathlon training. So I used to train a lot and run a lot. So I have reflective stuff from that. So I put on some reflective suspenders, kind of like they have at that chicken place. What's it? Chick-fil-A, they wear those reflective suspenders. So I got some of those on. I put my shoes on. I went out there and I started looking around. I called the police. I said, call the police. Let's get them out here, And I thought there's going to be a guy in a ditch, like hurt.
Yeah.
But all we found on the highway was a hat, 2 earbuds, and a patch of blood. We could not find the guy. But I'm telling you, 3 or 4 police officers showed up, trucks, lights, guys, flashlights. We were looking all over for this guy. And I guess somebody picked him up. They called down to the hospital. Hey, is a guy coming down there? We're looking for this guy. Is he okay? And, but those guys, they showed up. They were here within 2 minutes. And then another guy showed up and another guy showed up. And there was a lady officer there, I think. And they trucks and lights and all the setup, and I was like, man, I look like a crazy man until we found the hat and the blood and the earbuds.
Yeah, well,
I was like, oh man. I mean, I felt bad for the guy getting hit, but I was kind of glad there was some evidence that something happened.
Yeah, well, he must have got hit pretty hard to knock his earbuds out and his hat off. So but maybe not hard enough to incapacitate the guy. Then, well, you said he was
crying out,
yeah, for help.
And I had a dog get hit out here, so I know that that's an awful sound. I mean, it's a horrible sound, and. I heard that sound again. I went, oh, like it makes your stomach turn, But our law enforcement, they were right here, and it was kind of a boy that cried wolf deal, which I hate.
Yeah. So you're not for defunding the police?
No, I'm not. I'm not against training. I think we should, and our officers are trained. I got a young guy that I know real well. I mean, I'm watching videos of him getting pepper sprayed in the face, and he's getting tased. If you're going to use a taser, you got to be tased.
Wow.
You can't just carry a taser and just go around zapping people. In order to, I guess legally, in order to use a taser to get the training and be certified with a taser, you have to be tased.
You got to know what it's going to do to your body, a body.
You're going to feel it. They want you to feel it. So
Well, I've seen that done to people. And
that's why.
Law enforcement, okay, it makes sense.
That's why. Because they'll hook you up, they'll hold your arms and stuff, and there you go. Like, they get tased, They're like, oh my gosh, they're getting
a shocking experience.
It's very shocking. But it's in a way it's good, Like I'll tell you this too. Like when I had a soccer team and my basketball team, if I ever got frustrated with them and I had to run them and I wanted to run them, I'd run with them.
So you'd know that.
I'd know how hard it was. Yeah. I wasn't just going to run them until they threw up and all that.
When we were in school, our coach couldn't run.
Yeah.
He couldn't run at all.
I was in pretty good shape for a long time. Yeah. I mean, I'm okay now, but I could run back in the day.
Well, you're still in great shape. Compared to a lot of people that I know, and me in particular that I know. But you know what I am doing? I've been doing a little weights.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm trying to get my left arm to where it'll actually work again. My shoulder. Yeah. It's I was like doing trying to do with a 10-pound weight, like I'm doing boxing. I was trying like I was pretending to be boxing with that 10-pound weight in each hand.
But your shoulder got smoked,
I could throw it out there.
Couldn't bring it back. Huh?
Well, it just dropped.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I've got to get my shoulder back in reasonable strength because it's useless. So I've got to do some work on it. So that's what I've chosen to do. So I've been doing it every other evening. I've been doing some weightlifting. I dropped down to a 5-pound on the left arm and 10-pound on the right, so I can actually get it out there. Without it's effort, but I mean I can get it out there. So. Anyway, we'll see how this all plays out.
I want to bring up something else about Pakistan. I've got a friend. I shouldn't maybe call him a friend. It's really not authentic, but he's a ministry associate. I call him a bishop. He oversees 138 churches in and around Karachi, Pakistan, and he has ministers actually that are ministering to people in the Taliban. So, like recently, it's been within a couple years now. They won a Taliban general or a Taliban guy's son to Christ. And this guy was a killer. I mean, this guy had killed people. He was having bad dreams about the killing that he'd been doing. And one of these pastors underneath my friend, my ministry associate, he led him to Christ. And,
wow.
So our church is supporting this because I'm against terror and I support our military. But I think the war on terror might be better fought ideologically than with bullets, bombs, and, killing people. Because I think sometimes you might just create terrorist babies. Like if your dad's a terrorist and we hit him with a Hellfire missile from 30,000 feet and blow up your mom and your dad, and now you're raised by your crazy uncle, and I hate America. They killed my dad and my mom, So to me, the war on terror, there should be an ideological piece to it that is the biggest, most well-funded piece of the whole puzzle, where people who are Islamic fundamentalists and ideologically charged to kill non-Muslims because of their quote-unquote religion, I think we would be better served to approach them from an ideological perspective first. I realize the world's a complicated place and it's a violent place, and Sometimes violence is what happens. But I think.
Well, you know,
let me. I'm sorry. I get sidetracked, but let me get to the point. In Pakistan today, there's what's called indentured servitude or slavery. I've had a couple guys from Pakistan hit me up on Facebook about this. They want money to fund a ministry to get people out of slavery. So what's slavery look like in Pakistan? Well, in this, it's bricks. It's interesting because, you know, the Egyptians enslaved the Israelites and had them making bricks. Yep. So today in 2025 in Pakistan, there are people who are enslaved making bricks in a brick kiln. And what has happened with these people is their parents or their grandparents or their great-grandparents got into financial debt and they couldn't pay it back. So then grandpa had to work to pay back his debt. Well, the way the system is set up in Pakistan, you can never fully pay back your debt with work because the interest on the loan is too high.
Kept growing.
Yeah, so let's say you make $2 a day working in the brick kiln, but the interest on what you owe them is $2.02. So you're going to go 2 cents in the hole every day of your life while you work 12 hours a day making bricks. You're never going to get out of the kiln. You're never going to get out of there unless you run. And I don't know that you can run. I don't know what I don't know how all that looks. The breaking away thing, you know, from the brick kiln. So my guy that's in Pakistan, I don't want to say his name because if his name gets out, you know, he could be killed. You know, because there are extremist groups in Pakistan that aren't really in favor of Christianity, if you haven't figured that one out, you know. Yeah, I have. Just watch the news, you know. But anyway, that's a cultural deal. I mean, that's happening on Earth now. So to me, I don't have anything against Pakistan necessarily, but I do have a problem with indentured servitude and slavery. I think in you know, when he comes to our church, he says if anybody that could donate $1,500, we can buy them out of slavery for $1,500. Sometimes it's as low as $700 is what they owe. And then they have an actual compound that they've built to house the slaves when they come out of slavery in Pakistan.
So this group of people, this person who, like the grandfather, great-grandfather, or whatever, he became a slave because he couldn't pay the bill.
Yep.
And then, of course, once he became a slave, he could never pay the bill because he never makes enough money to pay the bill.
Right.
So then his son has to go and work that debt off. But he can't do it either because he doesn't make that. And so it just goes on down generation after generation. That's exactly right. They never get out of debt. Much unlike the Israelis who had a Jubilee year every 50 years. Yeah. Every 49 years, actually, it was a Jubilee. Well, I guess it would be every 50 years.
Yeah, that's 7 sevens.
Yeah, 7 sevens.
Plus one, yeah.
Yeah. So here's, see, God made a way. He made a way. He knew all of that stuff was going to happen even in the Israeli life. And they did. They did have slaves. Yeah. And so, but every 50 years, they could release them.
To me, too.
Eligible to be released.
It was a different system, because of what you're saying. Yeah. So let's say you're a farmer, Lonnie, and you're a crummy farmer, and you own.
Yeah, I am crummy.
You have your ancestral land. You know, you've got the land given to you. You know, from Moses, and this is going to be your land. It's got your name on it. Your grandpa, your daddy. You're running this farm, and for whatever reason, you're not a good farmer, and so your crops go bad, and you're hungry, and you look at my farm right next door, and I'm a great farmer, and so I'm crushing it, man. I'm growing all kinds of grapes and crops and
why does it have to be this
lentils?
Way?
I made me the good guy in the story. Didn't I?
Yeah,
well, I like being the good guy.
You're telling the story, so I get you what you want.
I get to.
I'm just messing with you.
So you don't starve to death, and your kids don't starve to death. You grovel. You come over to me and you ask me for mercy, and I say, well, sure, but you're going to work for me now. And you're going to be my slave. And you say, I have no choice. I mean, I've got to, or I'm going to starve. So I'm choosing, with death or slavery, which one you want? Well, I'll take slavery. So, but the good news for you is, this isn't a perpetual situation. This isn't going to go on forever.
Right.
If we're 3 years away from the Jubilee year, you're going to be my slave for 3 years.
Yeah.
then you're free to go back to your farm. Now that you've worked for me, the expert farmer,
you might learn something.
You might have learned something. Now let's empower this guy. Let's send him back to farm. And now now let's say the Bible says this too. Let's say you love me. And your family loves me, and I love you and your family. We've become very close, and we got a bond. You can choose to have an awl driven through your ear into a doorpost, and now you've decided you want to be my slave for life. That's up to you as the slave,
right?
Not me. I can't enslave you. You have to willfully decide. I want to stay with Tony. He's such an amazing guy. Yeah. He's such a great farmer. I love being here. We're friends. We get along great. Why would I ever want to go back to my own stupid farm? Forget it. So if you want to be my slave for life, you can choose that. So anyway, that's a different system than what's going on in Pakistan.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So and it's amazing how see God, he had it all figured out, didn't he? He really had it all figured out. Yeah. You were talking earlier about they didn't go to prison. It was either restitution or death.
Yeah.
You had those two.
Yeah, if you put out my eye, right, you're going to pay with your eye.
Yeah, that's right.
That's restitution.
Tooth for a tooth. Yeah.
You want to. There's certain crimes though. There wasn't a restitution. It was death, kidnapping, death, adultery, death.
Yes,
there were certain things. If you did certain things in the Jewish culture, under Old Testament law, you could make restitution on some things. If I think manslaughter, you could flee to a city of refuge. If you could get there ahead of the people that were trying to catch you and kill you.
Right. You were safe for a certain number of years. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, that was called oh man, like we have cities of that now that people have declared sanctuary city. It was a sanctuary city, is what it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's pretty interesting how I just some of the things that God did. If you just put your mind to thinking about what He did, it was it's not just brilliant. It's unworldly.
It's divine. Yeah.
It's divine. That's right. So anyway, it's amazing some of the things now. But so, here we could do that with the same kind of a system for a guy. Let's say that guy came in and robbed you, and a judge sentenced him to be a slave to you for X number of years. I mean, and he could have to take care of your lawn, have to take care of all everything that you have. You have to, you don't have to do work anymore. You just let the slave do it. You think it would be a good idea? You think it would work in America? It worked then.
I think it would be there'd be so much backlash over that. Just
rather put them in prison and let them sit there and decay.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, you're talking about a major cultural shift.
Oh, absolutely.
If you reinstituted some form of slavery in America today,
and of course,
I think that'd go over like a lead balloon. I don't think that's going to happen.
All the attorneys that deal in...
You'd have to call it something else. You couldn't call it slavery. You'd have to call it restitution. You're going to make restitution. Yeah. You've attacked this man. You've hurt him. Now you're going to pay, and this is how you're going to pay. They call it community service. I mean, that's basically slavery.
There's quite a bit of that going on.
So if you misbehave, you got to go pick up trash on the side of the road, for 20 hours and think about your problems and think about what you've done, But making it a little more personal, a lot of people that get victimized by criminals might not want that person around.
That's true. That's another thought, too.
I don't know. But
Well, I really, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want them hanging around. I would be afraid they'd just take some more stuff and leave me poorer than when they got here.
Take your stuff and leave.
Yeah.
But, in closing, let's wrap this up. But, there's a word that was real popular. It's xenophobia.
Yeah.
And it's like a fear of strangers or a fear of anyone outside of your country. And I think the term xenophobia is used as a pejorative by the left to dismantle any argument of anybody on the right that says, our country's a good country and we should protect it. Oh, you're just afraid. You're just afraid of people from other countries. You have a phobia, And so name calling is like one of the last things you can do to try to win an argument. I mean, there's no logic in it. It's junior high,
Yeah. And you don't win. You don't win an argument.
I mean, you can sway people with that kind of thing, but as far as winning, I don't know what you would actually win. But to me, calling someone xenophobic is like if you're against homosexuality, oh, you must be homophobic. No, I'm not a homophobic. I just don't like it. I don't approve of it. Or I don't want I don't want people from other countries coming to our country who are criminals. Ah, you're xenophobic. No, I'm not xenophobic. That's not xenophobia. That's common senseobia. That is what you should think. That's what everyone should think.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I think, people try to shut down arguments. Another way people shut down arguments is labeling people. So like there could be a guy that has a really good argument. And you're on the other side of the argument and that guy's got a good argument. So what do? You label him blah, 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 whatever label you want to give him. And then now he's toxic. Nobody will touch him. Nobody will talk to him because he's been labeled. Well, sometimes that's not really fair, but that is what happens.
Yes, it is.
It happens in multiple domains. People get labeled. And the reason I think people like labels is because once I label you and someone else sees that label, then they don't have to think about my argument anymore. It's easier for everyone if we just label people like, oh, let's just label that guy. He's a blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, let's move on. He's a blah, blah, blah. But that guy may have some legitimate concerns, whoever that guy is, or whatever situation. There may be some merit to some of the things this person said, but because they've been labeled, now we don't have to listen to them. We don't even have to think about it. And there are lots and lots of people that run to the well of less thinking,
because it's hard.
Thinking is hard.
It is work.
It is.
You have to analyze. You have to weigh out things. You have to balance the whole process. So it takes a lot of thinking to get to. Well, you're a minister. You're a pastor of a church. So and you read a lot of scripture. I know you do daily. So and there's a lot of thinking goes on is involved in trying to understand what's the message here. What's God trying to tell us here? So some people just they wait till Sunday and they go to church and I'll tell you what, it's Pastor. This way. Pastor said this, so it's it's that way.
Just tell me what to think.
Yeah, telling you what to think.
It's easier, for people just tell you what to think. Yeah. But it's not really the best way.
No, you need to challenge their thinking, challenge their minds, and
I like to do that actually.
Yeah,
I like to say, hey, let's think about this for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
And throw out some ideas and oh man, I never thought of that.
And then they'll think of things that you would have never thought of.
And hopefully there's a synergy. Yeah, people can synergize off one another if there's thinking. You can have an idea.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, you can have an idea, and I think, well, that's a good idea. What about this? And let's look at it like this. Kind of a little bit of what we do here on this program. We just talk.
Yeah.
And hopefully people listening. In closing, I think we need immigration reform of some kind. I think it should be easier for good immigrants to get into our country. And when I say good, I'm not the judge of good. I'm just saying somebody's going to decide what kind of person do we want.
That's right.
And then I think it should be very difficult for non-good immigrants to get into our country.
I think it should be impossible for non-good. If you can put the finger on a non-good person.
Yeah, and then the other thing would be prison reform. I think we may need prison reform in America. I don't know. I mean, we may need harsher penalties and quit playing around with prison. You mentioned the death penalty thing earlier. Guys will sit on death row for 40 years and die of a
heart attack
or whatever, have some kind of disease.
And that is predominantly the way that people who on death row die of a natural cause.
I sound cold-hearted, but I'm really a merciful person. But if you're found guilty by a jury of your peers beyond any reasonable doubt, then we might need to just speed that process up a little bit. But for people,
go ahead.
There may be people who are innocent on death row. Before DNA evidence, there were people that were found guilty and on death row who were innocent.
Okay. Now I think we ought to take this step too in that we ought to, if an innocent man is found guilty of, say, murder or whatever it may be, and then we find out later that the prosecuting attorney was withholding evidence that would set this guy free, then I think that the prosecuting attorney ought to be held guilty and serve the same sentence or have the same penalty imposed upon his head. In other words, if it's a death penalty, I think the prosecuting attorney, if he deliberately withheld some information that he knew about prior to this, And he knew, and he didn't, because it's a law, you have to share that information that you have with the defense attorneys. They have to know what evidence you have against him. So if they know, then they have the weapons that they need to defend their client.
So the prosecutor just wants to win the case at all costs.
So yes, and I think that happens. I do believe. I know it has happened.
I think it probably does happen too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, that's one of those things that's a little far out there. But I'm just saying, if you're gonna have the death penalty, and this prosecuting attorney prosecutes this guy, and he willfully, knowingly withholds evidence that would exonerate the guy, then yes, I think that he should be found instead of this guy that he's trying to convict. He should go to jail for doing that. He should go to maybe you don't give him the death penalty. Maybe just give him
disbar him.
Yeah, disbar him. Give him 5 years in prison. Let him think about it.
Let him think about it a little bit.
Yeah. Or make him restitution, like we talked about earlier. Making restitution.
Yeah, I mean, how could you do that though?
Well, he's probably got some money.
Let's say you put a guy away for 20 years for a crime he didn't commit.
Oh man,
how do you pay that guy back? You can't.
Well, they do sue. Usually they'll sue the state, and the state will pay them some money. But yeah, you can't get those years back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious, all that time you spent in jail for because somebody just wanted you there. Just wanted
to win.
Wanted to win.
Well, you ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
Why don't you pray? You want me to pray?
Yeah, please.
All right. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great day. And Lord, I thank you for helping us to make it great. And God, I ask you to bless our listeners, bless our viewers. Help us in the mighty name of Jesus Christ to become the kind of people that would bring you glory and bring you honor. And Lord God, we ask you to invade our souls and come into our minds, our will, our emotion by the power of the Holy Spirit and lead us into all truth. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.